seuraavaksi siirrytään ohjelmassa taas eteenpäin. So next up we have visitors from Rotterdam, where the harbor oftentimes becomes a massive wasteland for rotten mangoes. So this worked as an inspiration for Koen Meerkerk and Hugo de Boon to launch their company Fruitleather Rotterdam that transforms discarded fruit into leather-like material. So this is, I have to say, quite a wonderful example of circular economy in practice. Now we should have Koen and Hugo online. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
We are doing very well. It's a pleasure to be part of this event today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for joining us today. So you're going to share your story with us from the very beginning until what you guys are doing nowadays. So I'll now give the screen to you, and then after the presentation we'll have some time for comments and questions. So welcome, and let you start.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, so thank you for the brief introduction already. My name is Hugo de Boon, and this is Koen Meerkerk. We are the founders of the company Fruitleather. Next slide. Yes. Yeah. So this is us in our full glory, doing with our resource. We're two students from the Rotterdam Art Academy where we first started this project. And yeah, we're gonna take you guys through the way we started our company, our concept, and also the importance of creating a sustainable future. Next slide, please.
So what you see here is our golden circle. Hugo and I know each other from the Academy of Art, and on the Academy of Art we had an assignment to come up with an idea and to reach maximum exposure. And that idea doesn't have to do anything with sustainability or whatsoever. We just had to find an idea to create the massive exposure. And at the Academy of Art, they told us about the golden circle with the why in the middle. Why are you doing what you do? That was the first question we were asking ourselves, the most important question. And the why actually became, we actually have seen that there was a world created where resources are becoming more and more scarce. And we literally saw this underneath our window, as our school was located near to the Rotterdam market. And literally out of our window we saw that all the fruits were thrown away after the market day. And yeah, we literally see that there are a lot of waste streams in our world that are seen as waste, but in our opinion there's value into these waste streams. And we took actually mangoes and other fruits from the market, and how we actually developed a process to turn waste into, as a valuable resource, into a new product. And the how is actually we developed the whole process to turn these leftover fruits into the what, the new product, that's Fruitleather. And Fruitleather is a replacement for animal leather and an alternative to animal leather, but it's completely plant-based. It's animal friendly, and actually it turns value out of a waste stream. And that's the material that we created today as an alternative to all kinds of products where normally leather is used to design these products.
Next slide.
Yes.
Moet je zelf zeggen. Okay, so yeah, obviously we didn't realize the whole problem of food waste before we really started with this project. So like Koen already briefly said, our school used to be located near the Rotterdam market, and then we saw every Tuesday and Saturday that at the end of the market day there was a ton of waste left behind. This wasn't only fruit waste, but we realized that fruits and vegetables were one of the things that were that created the most amount of garbage at the end of a market day. So after when we first started our project, we really only gathered information from the market. We found out that market vendors had to pay 12 cents per kilo for to get rid of the waste. So this was a huge weight on their shoulders. So usually they would illegally dump it, so they wouldn't have the extra costs. And then we realized, okay, if this is already a problem at the market, how big is this problem as a global issue? So we started doing some more research, and it turns out that 45% of all the fruits that we produce eventually get thrown away. There's numerous chains where this happens. So it all starts at the place of harvest. So in the land where fruits like mangoes grow, about 30% of the harvest is already thrown away. And quite frankly, the reason for this is that that 30% isn't up to cosmetic standards for the European market. So actually, we are very spoiled, to say the least. If we already see that there's a little, as you can see in the photo on the slide, if there's a little small brown spot on a mango already, for instance, then the fruit will be thrown away. And this is actually very. These numbers are so incredibly high, which is very crazy, because at the same time we're throwing away food just because it's not cosmetically up to standards, and at the same time there's people starving who can't get food. You know, so we're very spoiled. We're very spoiled in that sense, and that's only at the place of harvest. That 30% gets thrown away. Then during the transport, another 10% is thrown away. Due to stupid reasons like a cool container that's not plugged in. These are the reasons why such a large amounts get thrown away. And another 5% is thrown away due to the consumer himself by just not eating your fruit on time. And that's why we have such a large portion of fruit waste. So in the end, if you have 2 mangoes, 1 pretty much will get thrown away. And that's a normal statistic apparently, and that's quite worrying. For us personally. Next slide. Yeah, so the one big advantage that we have is that we're located in Rotterdam, one of the best cities in the world, if you ask us. But the reason why it's so important for us is that there's our harbor, the Rotterdam harbor, is one of the most important harbors in the world. It's the most important harbor in Europe because it function as how do you say it? All the fruits that come in here, they eventually go to countries like Germany and France. So we are really like the port to the European fruit market. And like we just said, about 10% of the fruit is wasted during transport, and that all arrives here at the Rotterdam market. So this is now our resource place. So we get to intercept all these thrown away fruits that come in via the harbor, and this is our resource to make something new which has value again. And the Netherlands exports about 155,000 tons of mangoes. So yeah, we really function as a giant trade hub in that sense. Next slide.
Yeah, so at this infographic, you actually see all these chains where fruits are being discarded, and you can see that there are different chains in different regions where fruit is thrown away and lost and wasted at different stages. So actually in the yellow circle you see the part that we actually intercept in the Rotterdam harbor. That's like 8% that is cost of the waste is caused by distribution. But you see along all these chains there is fruit being wasted on the agricultural side and the post-harvest side. That's like the fruit that's wasted in the countries itself most of the time. So there is an enormous opportunity once we fully developed the technique to use these techniques in the countries itself. Like people are actually contacting us from South America, where a lot of fruits are being exported, and also from Africa, from Asia. And we actually think once we have developed the technique, we can use these techniques locally as well to make a difference in the local communities over there. But at the moment we are already intercepting this 8%, and because Rotterdam is such a big trade hub, that's already an enormous amount of fruits. If you go into the next slide, you see actually that we calculated the amount of tons of mangoes that are imported by the Netherlands. It's like 195,000 tons of mangoes. And if we were about to intercept all this mango waste, in this case we only talk about the mango waste, then we can already be the last leather alternative company in the world, because it's like around 730,000 square meters of fruit leather we can produce only from the mango waste that are coming from the Rotterdam harbor. And actually at the early beginning we were using all kind of different fruits for our processes. At the moment we are mainly focused on the mangoes because there is a relative low percentage of water in there, and there are very useful long fibers inside a mango. And at the way that we are working at the moment, it's easy to process these fruits for us. But we think that once we have developed the technique for the mango, we can also start using this technique for different fruits as well. But we see that only by working with mangoes, you already have different types of mangoes. For instance, you have a canned mango, you have a Tommy Atkins mango, you have a Keat mango, and so on and so on. So we already use a lot of different types of mangoes, and you see these mangoes are coming from all different kind of countries into the Netherlands. And because Rotterdam functions as a trade hub, one time you will get the mangoes from Brazil, and the other time you will get the mangoes from Africa. So you can imagine that the input of our production line is always a little bit different, only by working with the mango, but the output, the material, that we always want it to be the same in a continuous process. So this is already a whole development going on. And once we do one thing very good, we think we can use technique to do other fruits as well. We can go into the next slide. So here you see the fruit waste problem also locally. This photo you see here is a photo of the mango waste in Africa, and someone tagged me on LinkedIn in this photo. And they told me there's an enormous opportunity here as well, as they fill all these gaps in the ground with all these mangoes that are not cosmetically good enough to be shipped to the Western countries most of the time. And they see it in the countries itself already, and they put it in the gaps under the ground. They put some plastic on top of it, and it will rot in the sun. And actually, our technique is developed to get value out of these waste streams. And you see, in the developing countries, they produce most of the time 98% sorry, of all these mangoes. And actually, the production of these mangoes is mainly concentrated in Asia, and precisely that is in India. So for us, there is an enormous opportunity to use these techniques over there, as India is accounting for 40% of the global production. So yeah, we actually think that we can use this technique very good in these countries as well.
Next slide. Yeah, okay, so let's be honest, it's not like we instantly thought, okay, nice, we have fruit, we can turn that into leather. You know, it's not how it went. This was a very new process for us. At first, we didn't even think about making leather. This purely happened purely by coincidence. So initially, when we started, we thought, okay, how can we use these all these fruits? Okay, fruits have a lot of pigments inside. At the Rotterdam market, there was they just opened a new building, the market hall, which is an indoor market, and so it was flowing with tourists at the time. So we thought, okay, how can we use the waste from the Rotterdam market and create something for those tourists as a souvenir after they visited Rotterdam. So this was our initial thought. So we thought, okay, we can take the pigments out of fruits. This is something which is a super old technique, of course. Back in the days, they only used natural pigments to make, to color things, to dye things. And we thought, as two art academy students, we thought, okay, maybe we can do silk screen printing using the pigments of the fruits. Okay, so we started this, and eventually we started taking out the pigments, and this went very successful. We started with raspberries at the time, but instead of just taking out the pigments, we also had the pulp left over, and we thought, okay, maybe it's a shame to throw this away. Let's keep it. And then Koen accidentally left it out on the windowsill, and it dried out in the sun. And this was actually our first fragile piece of fruit leather that we made pure by coincidence. Of course, it didn't look like leather yet, so but we knew it was a type of material. And then we made it again, and then it became a bit more flexible. And then we thought, oh, now it's starting to maybe it's starting to have these characteristics and these characteristics. Oh, these are the same characteristics as leather has. Okay, how can we develop a material that looks like leather, that functions like leather? And then after coming up with this, we realized that the leather industry, of course, is also super polluting. It's of course, it can be seen as a byproduct of the meat industry, and to a certain extent it is. But to another extent, it's not, because I mean, we also we also slaughter animals for exotic skins. If you take a Hermes, for instance, you know, they're they're keeping alligators and crocodiles in cages in order to slaughter them purely for their skin. It's not for the meat industry. But imagine, and if you have a crocodile made from, okay, you can't really see the pattern, I think, but a crocodile made from mango. That's so no one was hurt. It looks the same. It solves the food waste issue, and it also provides a cleaner alternative for a leather product. So actually, what we're doing is maybe it's the wrong choice of words, but we're killing two birds with one stone. You know. So we are combining the problem of the two industries to create something positive again. And when it comes to the production of leather, it's a lot of CO2 that's released into the air, a lot of harmful chemicals. Of course, we're lucky enough in the Netherlands that we have quite good, for the leather industries that are still around, we have the tanneries, we have good water filtration systems, so the environmental impact is maybe less than in developing countries, but in developing countries where most of the leather production comes from, all these chemicals used to tan the leather are just washed into the environment. And they're washed into rivers that people depend on to wash their clothes, to wash themselves. So people become super sick, and then it becomes a huge environmental hazard. And that's why we've come up with we found a problem within the food industry as a solution for the polluting leather industry. And that's kind of our current motivation to create an even, the biggest leather tannery made from fruit waste, because then we prevent all these problems from occurring. Next slide. Okay, here we have a video, but I'm not, yes. So here we have a video of, which shows our process. We're gonna go through it quickly. So what we do is we actually mash the mango to a pulp. The mango contains a lot of fibers. These fibers are eventually the thing that create our product. So yeah, the mangoes are received. We take out the mango stone. This is currently still our waste. Once the mangoes are mashed and we add certain additives, we have a paste that we, how do you say this? We smear it out on glass plates. It's kind of like the same way as making chocolate. Once these sheets are made, the raw material, then we bring it to a finisher, and they are able to press a pattern inside of it, an embossment, to really make it look like leather. Once this embossment is inside, we also add a coating. At the moment, our coating is not completely natural yet. We want to be completely transparent about this. We are currently using a PU coating, but we're working on finding a way to get the same quality as a PU coating without the using synthetic chemicals. So that's what we're working towards now, but we have to begin somewhere. And once the material is finished, we send it to designers who can eventually turn it into a product. So right now we are working with numerous companies that are making shoes. We're working with companies that are making bags, and for each product you have a higher characteristics that you need to achieve. So, for instance, if you want to make a lampshade, we can just make raw material, no backing, no coating, because you just hang it inside, you don't touch it afterwards. But if you want to create the upholstery for car seats, for instance, yeah, then you really need to make it super idiot proof. It needs to be super durable. You're not going to buy like shoes you buy every year, but a car you might only buy once every 15, 20 years. And this is what we eventually want to work towards, so that we know that we have the most valuable and the highest quality material that can be used as an alternative for leather. So that's our current step. And Koen will talk a little bit more about how we achieve those goals and what else we're working towards. So next slide, please.
So we actually started around 5 years ago at the Academy of Art. And at the early beginning, there was the assignment to create maximum exposure. And actually that all started on the Academy of Rotterdam. We were mentioned in a post from Mashable, which is a large platform in the United States with millions of followers. And this was an article we did for Mashable on the social media pages, and actually that started to be quite successful as Hollywood actors as Mark Ruffalo started sharing our story. Mark Ruffalo is the Hollywood actor that plays the Hulk in the movies, and again, millions of people started following us and started could help us in reaching our goals, and could help us in the development of our initial concept, as it was at the early stages when we came up with the concept. But as you can imagine, at the first stage, it was only conceptual, and also people thought that there was already a fully developed material, which was not in the beginning. But also companies like Stahl, as you can see on this picture, this was Frans from the company Stahl, which is a multinational company with locations worldwide. And this company helped us with the ideal coating for our material to upgrade the characteristics of this material and to help us to professionalize this product from a conceptual thought into a material that is suitable for different kind of applications. And I think we worked with Frans for around four and a half years. Now he is on his retirement, and Actually, we are still working with the company Stahl to help us further developing the material with the coating. But also, this company could do all physical tests to test the tear resistance, the flexibility of the material, all the characteristics that are needed for certain products. And actually, on the next slide, we actually can see a bit of our business plan, because we both studied spatial design, but now all different kind of elements that you need to have in your company started. We had to work on that as well. So we created like a product XYZ. And in the first idea, it was like product 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And like in the early beginning, we thought it's a good idea to start with small items like a key organizer or a small wallet, where the material is not doesn't need to have the best characteristics yet, but as a starting point, and to launch with the customer, to launch this idea into a product that is on the market. And actually, you see that along the way, the characteristics of the material will develop. So from a key organizer, we develop the characteristics in a way that we can produce bags and shoes. That's actually the stage that we are in now. We search for opportunities with different designers and companies worldwide to create these kind of products. And like the Z, I think as Hugo mentioned in the beginning, car seating, for instance, is something the best characteristics of the material are needed to make car upholstery, as that has to, the lifetime of car upholstery is like around 20 years. So you have to you need to have the best characteristics as well. And over time, we also have to scale our production. So this is something we are currently doing at the moment. We worked with sheets of 60 by 40 centimeter in the beginning, and now we start looking into ways to create 120 by 120 meter sheets, as this is something that's required by the market as well. And in the product set, we like to make this material on a roll, where we can make huge amounts of material and bring the price of the material a bit lower by upscaling our IDs.
I want to also say one more thing regarding what Koen just said. Like, we're not we're two art academy students, so I can tell you we have done a lot. What is it based with the resources that we've had, and as an art academy student who just graduated, your resources are very limited. So we really were a startup in the beginning. So we would there were times that we really did not know what we were doing. We were just experimenting with things, creating very dangerous situations for ourselves in order to try and test something. I remember also when we were still at the art academy, we wanted to make a giant piece of fruit leather, like a giant sheet. So we thought, okay, how are we gonna do this? We're not mechanical engineers, so we have no experience in building machines or whatever. So we did everything in the cheapest way possible, with the and then hoping for a good result. So during the time at the art academy, we made our own oven, which was just literally a bunch of styrofoam plates with hair drying fans inside, like 6 hair drying fans, to create a giant sheet of fruit leather. And so we were very, we did everything with minimum resources, just to prove that it would work. And we didn't have any experience in this, with these kind of activities. So we just hoped for the best outcome. Since maybe about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, we actually really made a big change within the company, where we really had a more professional approach. I am lucky enough to have a dad who's a chemical engineer, who's also currently supporting us with certain aspects within the company. And then we also realized that there are certain things we really cannot do ourselves. We're, like I said, we're not mechanical engineers. We're not chemical engineers. We're two art students with a good vision for the future. So we really have to get organizations to help us out to do the certain testing and to get professional statistics behind the material that we have. So we, what is it? Yeah, we really have statistics behind the things that we are testing. So now if you go to the next slide, you can see, maybe Koen likes to say a little bit more about this testing techniques.
Yeah, so we work with the company Staal in the Netherlands, and Staal is located in Waalwijk, which is a place in the south of the Netherlands. And we actually see that there is a whole lot of knowledge about the leather industry in the Netherlands. As for instance, large companies like Apple come to the Netherlands for the leather bracelets of the Apple Watch because there's so much knowledge, and all these multinational companies come to the Netherlands for all this knowledge. And we actually see at the Staal campus that they can physically test our material. So we actually know what kind of characteristics are needed for certain products. So for instance, a shoe has certain characteristics and the furniture has certain characteristics. And as we know what these characteristics are for original leather, we know what to work towards with our material as well to be able to have a material that's suitable for these kind of products. And we are testing this with this company. And you can see that, for instance, the tensile strength and the tear strength, all kind of materials can be tested on different characteristics. And this company is also doing these tests for a whole lot of car companies. So something quite funny is that some machines are used for testing leather for instance, for a car company, and then there is a piece of fruit leather on the same machinery at the same time. For this testing methods. So it's something that's quite cool already, that this company already starts seeing companies like Fruitleather as an great alternative for the future, as a sustainable alternative. And we are very happy with these kind of collaborations. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, here you see some more testing that this company does. So, for instance, also the scratching of the material needs to be approved to be able to create a material that's suitable for these applications. We can go to the next slide. So, also Hugo told you already, we are looking to things as from a designer point of view. As we both did spatial design, we also look with designers as well to be able to make the best products out there. And as a supplier of this material, it's also necessary to work with the designers and the companies directly. And we did this, for instance, with these men you see on the picture. These are shoemakers from the Waalwijk region, where there's a lot of knowledge about making shoes from real leather. But they also could apply these knowledge on our material as well, and were able to make a good-looking shoe. And you can see the shoe that they made over there. You can see it here. And it's already functioning quite well. We think that this is something that we can launch in the nearby future. So we can go to the next slide. So we are also working, for instance, with these kind of companies that are producing bags. So at this picture, you see a luxury bag from the company London Luxtra, we already started with these companies to launch these material into products into the world, and we start selling our materials. So as from a startup, we are trying to be a scale-up in the nearby future. So everything is working out quite good in the moment, and yeah, we are happy to continue our processes and to show you a whole lot more in the nearby future. Thank you for your attention, and we are happy to answer all your questions.
Thank you, Koen and Hugo. That was such an amazing example of a material, of a resource that has never been utilized before, and suddenly once you start to tap into that resource, you actually solve a number of other problems as well, which may be tied to, say, a waste problem. So such a classic circular economy example. But you mentioned in the presentation that you can create 730 square meters of leather-like material just out of mangoes, but I kind of missed the point where you said, like, in which time frame, like in which area, or is it mangoes that were rotten in a month's time globally, or
No,
these are the mangoes that are imported only in the Rotterdam harbor. So we have seen that the Netherlands is the second largest importer of mangoes in the world. And it's not because we eat a lot of mangoes ourselves. I think we do, but most of the mangoes are traded to Northern Europe.
Yeah.
And, as we so many mangoes, there is a whole lot of waste, and that's the waste. By intercepting this waste, we can make these amount of square meters.
Exactly. This just tells the story of the potential of your solution. However, at the same time, when you're kind of opening up an entirely new market, and as you mentioned, you really need to be amazing collaboration builders, as you will need to test your product. But at the same time, you're actually looking into a number of different markets that you want to enter. So how is that networking going, and how do you manage to do that with such small resources, of course, as a newly established company?
Well, mainly what we need to do, we got to get a lot of goodwill. So we've noticed that the real big global nationals are the most difficult to work with, because it's usually about profit, and they don't want to change their regular way of working. So this is something we've noticed. So right now we are really getting the goodwill from the smaller companies, actually, and from the individual designers. And yeah, people have to accept the fact that right now they're paying for a concept, and we're still in that developing stage. But yeah, in the end, all those big global nationals also need to make the change towards a sustainable process, because it's gonna come back to haunt them if they don't, because everyone needs to make that sustainable change right now. So it's better to jump on the bandwagon now and join that sustainable revolution instead of thinking about a profit. But yeah, there's still a lot of companies who don't do this. So we just look at them with a big smile, and hopefully they'll accept. And if not, we go towards the next one. And then eventually you will always find someone who's standing behind the concept and not only standing behind making profit.
Exactly. Yeah, those conservative, massive markets and big multinationals, I have the same experience myself by running my company. But I'm absolutely sure that once time passes and you kind of go and build the products with somebody else and test them and kind of are able to scale it first somewhere else, and that's the point when the big companies actually also get interested, unless you manage to actually already start a collaboration with them earlier on. But thanks so much, Koen and Hugo. We absolutely loved your presentation.